Coming to you from the My Little Falls studio, here in beautiful Little Falls, New York. It's your host, Scott Kinville, and another episode of Marty's Illegal Stick.
And what's up, hockey fans, and welcome to episode number 37 of Marty's Illegal Stick, recording here on August 4th, 2021. Number 37, there's only one player that really comes to mind when I think of that number, and that's got to be Patrice Bergeron. I don't really think of anybody else off the top of my head. If you guys can, please let me know.
There are 37 in Detroit.
In Detroit right now?
No.
Or was there?
Was there?
I know Franzen was 39.
Oh, maybe that's what I was thinking.
Johan Franzen?
That's what I might have been thinking of.
Yeah, well, you know what? We'll think about this about 3 o'clock in the morning. That's what we'll So anyways, we got a great show lined up for you tonight. We've got a very interesting guest. This is going to be a different form of hockey we're going to talk about today. But before we bring him in, I want to bring our panel in. First of all, Gumper is missing again this week. No Gump. Gump, if anybody doesn't know, is a big NASCAR fan. And here in central New York, we're kind of close to Watkins Glen International Raceway. It's about 2.5 hours away. And Gumper is on his way down there now for a big party weekend. So Gump may not be the same when he comes back, but we'll see what happens. But safe travels and have a good time, Gump. Anyways, in the studio with me, though, just so I'm not so lonely in the room, I got my buddy, my producer, Dave the Save Warner. What's up, bud?
I'm just trying to imagine your dad coming down from a weekend in Watkins Glen and partying. I don't know what that looks like for him.
You know what? You might be able to write a story about that someday.
Yeah, I think so.
For My Little Falls, because that's quite interesting.
Yep.
Well, and we got our usual panel back this week. You know, Shakutami made his guest appearance last week, but we got our regulars back this week. First of all, I'm going to bring in the professor, Jeremy Roberts. What's up, buddy?
How you doing?
Not too bad. What's happening?
Oh, nothing much. You know, enjoying the weather. Love the allergy season back again.
Oh, isn't it great?
That's awesome.
It is. But you know what? It's the little things. I see you got the sign behind you. We had to get that out of the way early.
I'm telling you, in a couple weeks, or in like a month or two, we're gonna have Dale come back on because he's gonna be getting a nice little surprise soon enough.
You know what? You schedule it and we'll make it happen. How's that?
That will work. That'll work.
And also joining us back, he's been away for a little while. He's been doing work things, because everybody around here's got to work, because we want to eat. Since I pay so well.
How does that work? Again?
I pay so well, I don't. Anyways, the doctor of hockey, Dr. Keith Levatino. What's happening, buddy?
Oh, nothing. Last day of summer school tomorrow. That's a good thing.
Oh, that is good.
Yep. Kids did a great job. And each and every day I keep checking the rumor mill to see where my man Tarasenko is going to show up. Hopefully we have a shot on Long Island. But besides that, that's the world.
I keep seeing it's down between the Rangers and the Islanders.
I don't get the Rangers. Not because I hate them. I just don't see it.
Not because I hate them. Just say it. You hate them.
Say
it. It's just like, that kid that always – you got a 99 on your fourth grade spelling bee and he got 100. That's the Rangers.
We like to call it, the big brother and little brother syndrome.
Yeah, well, However – if you were to prorate the years of existence in Stanley Cups won, the Islanders have a much better, higher percentage. That's how
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, so did I.
Well, you should have won this year.
Well, we'll have you guys battled out in segment 2 because I think we're actually going to cover that. So get ready, folks. Anyways, I'm going to bring in our guest. Our guest is the founder of the EmPowerPlay Project, which is an organization that is basically helping to put deck hockey rinks all over the country, including he's helping us eventually get one here in central New York. I want to bring in Mr. Kelly Kalichman. What's up, bud?
Greetings.
How are you?
I'm doing well considering.
Considering
the world, considering recent surgery, considering business at hand, considering I'm talking to you.
Oh, there's why.
Well, I was going to say. I hope that's a good part of your day.
It is actually one of the best parts of my day. Is I get to talk to you because I know we're going to talk about putting kids into the programs and creating access for those who didn't have it before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Kelly, we're going to start with a little bit of background info. Now, you live in Southern California. How did you get into hockey?
Well, actually, you'd think I got into hockey from a heritage standpoint. I was actually born in Montreal, but I didn't play much hockey there, and I moved to Southern California when I was really young. My dad was American, brought us here. I was actually supposed to be born here, and it was only because of circumstance that I was born there. But that's not the reason. Growing up in Southern California, hockey is almost impossible to play. Logistically speaking, lack of ice. Not that that's a problem all around the country, but you can imagine it's exaggerated here in the West. And it was only about 7 or 8 years ago that I was reintroduced to hockey and realized that it wasn't love in my life that was missing. It was the sport. So then that's pretty much when I got back into hockey and how this whole craziness started with the EmPowerPlay Project.
Well, that's really cool. And it's funny, when I was coming up with the outline for the show, I'm coming up with these questions, right? And I'm like, I already know the answer to these, but so if you're looking at me like, Scott, you know the answer to this question, but it's like, I want our listeners to be able to understand the full picture as well. Yeah, okay. You said you grew up in Montreal. You were telling us the other day that you were on hand for a pretty historic goal there.
I was the John Beliveau's 500th, and which is interesting because I didn't really spend that much time with my father, so I don't even know how I got there. But I did wind up at that game, which was spectacular in itself. But also the kids, if you recall from the story, I don't know how many families were actually invited back a couple of weeks later to commemorate the 500th goal. And by this time, they had produced a bunch of memorabilia and posters, and so I have this package not only from the night, but from the commemorative, the memorial night of this monumentous occasion, and I have all the, probably 2 or 3 posters and a bunch of pucks. I actually I have a puck from that game. Obviously not the 500th goal because that did not wind up in his hands, but some errant, shot from, I can't remember who it was, Steve Shutt, I believe, because he scored a bunch of goals that night as well. And that's how I wound up with a puck from the night of the 500th goal, but not the 500th goal puck.
Yeah, and being at the Montreal Forum on top of it, man, that's incredible.
That was I do have a lot of fond memories. Like, I didn't grow up in Montreal. I sort of brought up a little bit in Montreal. I grew up out here, but I still had some family in those days there. So we did return, once or twice a year, and there was always something to do at the Forum. I saw a lot of my first concert ever was Jethro Tull at the Montreal.
Oh wow.
Nice.
So, that was a really big, it was the spot, but I remember getting even baseball. I saw a bunch of games at Jarry Park. It was a pretty spectacular time in the, late 60s in Montreal. I don't know what the hell happened afterwards. Don't blame me, but it was a pretty special place, during that time for sure.
So you probably, if you went to Expos games at that time, you probably saw actually an Ilion, New York native, Bootsy Day, played for the Expos at that time.
I remember all the original guys. Well, first of all, a little known fact about the Expos is, even further back, the Montreal Royals. I know this is not about that, but I do know there's a bunch of sports nuts here. They used to call Montreal the greatest farm system in the world because everybody who's anybody played for the Royals or the Expos, including Jackie Robinson.
Sure, yeah.
At the Royals. So an interesting, place. Again, I don't know what happened in the 70s after we left, but it was a pretty spectacular place to be. I do have lots of fond sporting memories of early childhood. I'm making it seem like I'm like 90, but when I was whatever I was, 6 to 9 years old, essentially 6 to 10. Pretty formative years for me, sports wise. Definitely has a big play of why I'm such a sports nut, but it was a good place to be. A good place to be. I do, of course. I mean, Rusty Staub.
Sure.
Of course. Speaking of Long Island, Gary Carter. All those years, the Mets started his career. The Hawk. I mean, it goes on and on and on. The guys.
Tim Raines, Tim Wallach.
Yep.
Dawson, right?
Yeah,
Dawson.
that's awesome.
Randy Johnson.
Yeah. Larry Walker.
Walker.
Start there.
So
amazing.
No joke why they called it, the greatest farm system there ever was.
And it's so sad the Expos ended up moving.
It is sad, but that has a lot to do with the sort of obviously the politics and just the difficulties of just doing business in Quebec.
Right.
It's just very, very difficult to do business there.
Yeah.
So,
I can relate to exactly what you're saying. I went to college in Plattsburgh.
Oh wow! Jeez,
Yep.
I remember shopping. I remember shopping in Plattsburgh.
Yeah, Champlain Center's north and south. It was
Absolutely, price chopper.
Yeah, absolutely. Place to go. So when I was a grad student, I put myself through a grad. My mother put me through undergrad, but I was a hall director and I was in charge of a dorm, kind of like being a superintendent of a dorm. And one of the responsibilities was to organize bus trips to events. So I would organize them to the Canadiens Islanders and Mets Expos. And
wow.
I can't remember. You would have standing room seats at the Forum. You were like just the first section up, like you were right on the ice. $4 for a second row Expos ticket to see the 86, 87, 88 Mets, that era. $4 to get into the game, second row on the third base side. I mean, it was just phenomenal. So
yeah.
I can relate.
Well, you're already talking about Olympic Stadium.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, Olympic Stadium. Right.
Yeah. Because before that, it was Jarry Park, which was literally sitting on the field. But the Olympic Stadium was one of their problems. It was not built for baseball.
No.
So inevitably, if they didn't do what you were talking about, which was putting people literally on the field, you were sitting like a couple of football fields away. You couldn't see. I mean, what's a baseball game without seeing the first baseman go at his nose? So you couldn't see any of that. You couldn't see guys grab their crotch. Nothing.
Yeah. All the good parts of the game. Right?
All the good parts of baseball.
Is there another part of baseball?
And it's funny you bring up the Forum because
spitting out your chew.
Yeah.
Scott, did I tell you this? A couple shows ago, we were talking about Montreal, the Forum, and I looked up the Forum. I was getting sentimental. Do you know it's still there? Like I thought that I didn't know what, and it's like a movie theater, like a massive mall mini movie theater.
Yeah, it's like
part of a complex. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Well, as it would happen, in a related story. I hadn't been there in decades. I did a couple of concerts and festivals there in the early 2000s with Vans Warped Tour, but I hadn't been to Montreal in a very, very long time. And my daughter was looking at schools. This is whatever this was, 6 years ago. And she got accepted to a bunch of schools, had decided on King's College in London. And then a bunch of stuff started happening in Europe. And we're like, can you maybe take a look at some of the schools you got like on the mainland? And she did. We visited Carnegie Mellon, and I think she went to Princeton and McGill. She got accepted to McGill as well. Wow. So we went there, and it was my first time in a very, very long time that I got to see the city. And it was so I had to go to St. Catherine and check out the Forum. I was just so dumb. I didn't even realize. And it's like this giant flea market. It's not even it's amazing that place is just, it's not the Forum anymore at all. And so way to screw up all my childhood memories, Montreal.
Yeah, but at least it's not a parking lot now, though. That's
right.
Well, that is true.
One time after a Forum Islander game, we went to this bar right next door to the Forum after the game. And I'll never forget, some lovely young ladies came up to us. Are you live in Montreal with their accent? And we're like, no, we're from New York. And I'll never forget the one goes, oh, you American boys. I'm like, boy, am I in the right city? No doubt about it. Yeah.
You know, you can do that.
That
You
night,
can do
I
that anywhere in
became French
Canada.
Canadian, right?
And how broke were you by the time you got back across the border is my question.
I think it didn't matter because I walked.
Yeah. I love Plattsburgh was a great part of my childhood. I mean, that's where my parents shopped.
Right, that was it.
Like I said, I was supposed to be born in the States. My whole family's from New York.
Right.
But we had that's where my parents shopped. My sister, right after that, moved to the other side of Lake Champlain. She moved to Burlington,
Vermont.
So the rest of the family grew up in Vermont, and but I loved Plattsburgh was a big part of my childhood.
Beautiful area.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
A lot of bugs, but other than that,
That's really cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know all that, Kelly. So I just learned something new every day. That's really cool.
Well, you know what they say: if you stop learning every day, right?
Well, yeah. It goes without saying.
So,
So you said you moved out of Montreal when you were a youngster, so you came to Southern California, and I'm assuming that was before the Gretzky trade that brought basically hockey hysteria to Southern California.
It was. I moved to I think Rogie Vachon was still playing when we moved.
Oh wow!
Yeah, to California. So way before that era, just after the 72 expansion is the next time we I can't remember. I actually permanently moved here in 75, I believe, 76. But my dad was, again, back and forth for years before that. So, way before Gretzky. So, but right. I was always on the periphery, I always loved hockey. It was a bandwidth thing, and sure. I grew up, this, of course, is a nice, good segue into deck and ball hockey. But I don't care who you were, if you're over the age of 35 or 40 years old, you played some sort of deck hockey in gym. It had 100 different names: bagel hockey, donut hockey, stick hockey, broom hockey, on and on. But it was still hockey. So it's always been in my world. It's just, it was a bandwidth thing, and I grew up playing basketball and a lot of basketball and a lot of football and baseball. Naturally, when I had kids, that's what I introduced them to, and that's what I wound up coaching them in. And it just, hockey was just on that sort of in the back. Sure. I guess it was being stored in my mind and on the periphery. Sure. I mean, I could always tell you like who was in the playoffs or something like that, but not the nuances. And I still can't keep up. As you know, one of my partners here, and sits on the board of EmPowerPlay, is the founder of Ice Hockey in Harlem, and
Craig, yep.
And that's Craig Stanton. And Craig is ridiculous. And again, the man is don't play Trivial Pursuit with me because you'll lose. but playing hockey Trivial Pursuit with him, I mean, it's like I've just never seen a mind like that. Never mind stats and players and injuries, and tell you when the guy was divorced, and so he signed his agency contract. I mean, it's like just things that are just ridiculous. But it was always, again, hockey's always been there. It wasn't much of a reboot for me 7 years ago, but.
So you're basically saying don't have him on the trivia show because he's just going to clean up? Is that?
I'm telling you, people do not like to play, pop culture. I have like millions of pieces of data, of useless data in my mind, but his specifically on hockey is so far I've seen unmatchable. And because he's also a big communications magnet. That's what he does. He's a big PR guy. So it just is constantly being asked to join podcasts and things like that of that nature, because he just can speak so well, not only intelligently but eloquently on the subject. And then his son's name is Chase, but his middle name is Ranger. Say no more.
Well, I wonder who he likes.
Say no more. Who
So
just recently, against his own will, moved to Long Island for to better his life for his children. So
To better his life for his children, right?
yeah, of course.
So Keith, when we have Craig on, we'll make sure that that's a show that you can't make, so we don't have to have you guys two guys going at it. So that's quite all right.
Well, it's okay because I got Maylocks upstairs. It's no big deal.
Get a bigger bottle. That's all I can tell you.
On that note, I'm going to cut out. I got to take my daughter, guys. Nice meeting you.
All right, Keith, take care.
All right,
All right, see you guys
See ya.
soon.
All right.
Thank you.
So, Kelly, I mean, I obviously know the answer to this question, and you, of course, know the answer to the question. But just for our listeners out there, what exactly is deck hockey, and how does it differentiate from ice hockey, other than the fact that you're obviously, not on ice? But is there any other nuances that are unique to deck hockey?
There are a few sort of just minor issues, but it's hockey. There's no difference, in fact. The biggest difference, obviously, playing that instead of $700 skates, a kid's getting to play in his tennis shoes that he's been wearing in all day. That's the biggest difference. But deck and ball, there are a few differences between ball and deck with regards to the blue line, but the sport is exactly the same. Deck and ball is essentially the same sport, and ice is just the big brother, the superstar of the sport. But they are essentially the same sport, which is why it's been so frustrating for so many years to create that proper transition. And one of the reasons we actually started the EmPowerPlay Project many, many years ago. I could jump right into that if you want. It's a good
Absolutely.
segue. We started. I had a friend. I personally, as you know, Scott, I build brands and companies and ancillary revenue streams for artists, and I've been a producer and basically in the entertainment industry my whole life. But a very, very dear friend of mine who I've done many, many projects with over the years, about 8 years ago, called me. He had purchased about 10 or 12 patents in hockey. Items and dashboard systems and ice making and HVAC and I don't know where he was going with this, but he was looking actually for an ancillary business for his own industry and his own business, which was design and build. He had a successful design and build company in New England, from custom homes all the way to commercial real estate properties and football fields and things of that nature. And he was looking for an ancillary product to complement his business. And he just happened to be a hockey nut. Tennis courts were dead. Pools are kind of a waste of money in that part of the world. And he was a hockey nut, so he thought he was going to somehow get the wealthy areas to build these rinks. And he called me and needed some help putting a company together and a brand together. I put a small team on it to help him develop the nomenclature and obviously the assets and the designs and the mission statements and things that we do of that nature. And that's literally what got me involved in hockey again. I was like, let me watch hockey. And of course I was hooked immediately or hooked again immediately, no matter how you look at it. I invited my son to watch a couple of games with me. He was hooked. And that's how the whole thing started. And the more I watched, the more I realized there was a huge problem in hockey. And that was the introduction. And how were we going to grow the sport? 7 games in, I'm only how we're going to. It's typical of me. So it's like, I saw this major problem. And quite frankly, it was the economics don't work. It's the most expensive sport on earth. Nothing even comes close. If you take out the very exclusive and rare memberships of golf or the exclusive downhill skiing, nothing comes close. You're talking about like a $3,500 to $5,000 investment for your 5-year-old kid. You don't even know if his ankles are going to come off the ice. That's just gear. That's just gear.
Look at Jeremy now. He knows all about it.
Yeah. So I know I'm preaching to the choir. So
I can feel more gray hair. Just like,
yeah. So if you got gray hair, I'm telling you that Grecian formula. So I want to know that secret. But that's the truth. It's economics that are the problem here. When you're talking about a rural family or a mom in the inner city trying to figure out how she's going to pay for $150 Jordans, she's not thinking about $600 skates.
Right.
It's just, and again, that's just the gear. Never mind the economics of hockey itself. Buying a building today is going to be in the millions. And then the HVAC systems and the maintenance itself could be a couple $100,000 a year. It's just no wonder we cannot create a pure funneling system from the deck, from the street to the big game itself. There's no, and again, as we were just talking about earlier, I don't care who you are. If you're already average of 35, 40 years old, you played some sort of deck hockey in the gym, again. And it just, when we got to like 5th grade, they started pushing us out into the games that were already a bit more involved, not involved, sorry, but more developed. And those, again, because of the economics. How are they going to, this kid's loving the game, but how can we, where's he going to play? Where's the ice? And I know that you guys, 6 months of the year, all of a sudden have an expansion of rinks everywhere, but that's, that's flood and freeze. And it's 6 months of the year. So for the rest of the year, you're just like the West Coast. We have nowhere to play, or very little, areas to play. So that's where the whole impetus came from. And before I knew it, I was doing studies. We spent about $250,000 in due diligence and focus groups over about a 1.5 year period, developing EmPowerPlay and developing the products and developing the ideology. And before I knew it, I wrote a thesis on how to fix hockey. Again, just like me, the knucklehead, to just take it upon myself. And because of my good fortune and who I am in my own industry, I was able to get to the echelon of hockey and talk to the NHLPA and the Bettmans of the world and cohorts and the echelon and I was introduced to leadership and a bunch of teams. And before I knew it, I was helping to write some grant language for an IGF, which is an IGF grant. And the IGF, for those of you who don't know, is the Industry Growth Fund. It's a fund that the NHL, specifically the NHL and NHLPA, put together, which allows all the teams to vie for dollars for specific programs, grant dollars. And at that time, it was the usual suspects: technology, safety, marketing, CSR, corporate social responsibility, and things of that nature. And of course, this fit right in. It was, and that's how it all got started. And Scott, I've told you this story. I mean, funny enough, I'm from Southern California, raised in Southern California. My roots are here now, and my kids and everybody else was born here. But I did not get to develop my first rinks in Southern California. It was just, there wasn't any room, or I got them in Arizona, and I got them in New York, and I got them in Pacific Northwest, and I got them in New Jersey, and I went where the opportunities were. But the very fact is that my very first meeting, with telling somebody what I was going to do and what was with Luc Robitaille.
That's so awesome.
All those years ago. And the funniest thing is because his jaw dropped and he loved it, of course. But my first opportunity was in London, Ontario, and he looked right at me. He's like, "Well, this is awesome, but how's that going to help me?" And of course, it could not at that time, and I hadn't developed enough of the ideology to actually make it make sense in those times. So, but I was very, very fortunate and humbled by the experience, and got a lot of information out of that, and understood exactly a little bit more of from that echelon position, what they were looking for. And I learned a lot about the NHL and the very good things they do and the very difficult things they do. And one of those is they're not really in the game, quote unquote, of the growth of the sport. They're in the game of professional hockey. It's right. Different. It's very difficult and it's very different. And they don't have the bandwidth. It's not a desire. And it's just, they don't have the bandwidth. and so that you need the groups like us to come around and help, stitch this all together. At the end of the day, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just putting all the best wheels together. We're like Oz. We're stitching everything together and making it all work, from the actual state-of-the-art rinks to the ideology itself, to the refereeing and certification. And that's why we partnered with the USABH as the governing body of the sport. You have to think of them as USA Hockey, of everything off ice is USABH. And we're helping them position them as the good housekeeping seal of approval. And now it's this, we created together the EMP USABH Alliance, which is this one-stop shop. So not only is it, we're putting people into business and creating rinks all over the country, but we're also creating the sustainable programming and the sustainable business model behind it that allows all this to continue. And that's why everything's coming together right now, including the NHL and AHL teams and the ECHL and all the leagues around the country and all the parents and municipalities, because it does make sense. It's a very cost-effective way to develop the sport, to grow the sport. At the end of the day, it's about access. And that's what we're doing. We're creating access. You create it for those who don't know it exists or have no means to get it, and you've got a recipe for success. And for us, awesome. Very, very simple. I have got a million analogies, as you know, Scott, of why this stuff works, from the actual business model itself, to the fact that if you just, 120, if you just do very plain, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to realize that 125 years ago, there was no mitt in the Dominican. And now it's a breeding ground for the greatest baseball players on earth. Yeah. We have 100,000 of those same kind of neighborhoods right here in North America. We have no way of introducing the greatest sport on earth to them because of the costs involved. Right. And that's all we did. We took these great elements that have already been existed, we improved on everything, and now we put it together in a package, and that's why it works. Period.
And that's so interesting. And the thing is, the more you talked about that, the more I got to thinking, sports, the big sports in this country, other than hockey, so like baseball, football, soccer, basketball, they have an inherent built-in advantage in the fact that to be able to play those sports, all you really have to be able to do is to walk or run. Whereas if you're going to play ice hockey, that's an entirely different skill set in itself. And to be perfectly honest with you, there aren't a lot of places in this country that have access to indoor ice. Like, for instance, we're in upstate New York. Dave and I are in Little Falls. Well, yeah, you would think upstate New York, right along the thruway, man, you guys got to have hockey right there in your town, right? We don't. The closest ice rink to us is about 25 miles away. There's a few up in Oneida County, of course, but it's not as though it's something that kids, in this community can say, hey, I'm going to go to the rink for the day, or I'm going to, be a part of it, because it's simply not there. And this is such a great thing that the EmPowerPlay Project does, because you know what, if you get young kids interested in hockey, be it deck hockey or whatever, that can segue into ice hockey, of course, or even with ice hockey players in the off season, a lot of rinks close down. Well, if you got a deck hockey rink, they can continue to work on their skills during the summer if they so choose.
That's exactly right. You're hitting it on the head. It is literally the true funneling system. It is the same sport. There's no reason to think of it as a different sport. It's not, and there's lots of data that I can share with you and success stories, of course. But at the end of the day, one of the best things about deck and ball hockey is it actually extends the opportunity for a child to learn how to play the big brother sport.
Yeah, sure.
Because we all know, and the data is out there that proves it. If you're 10, 11, 12 years old, and you're deciding for whatever reason to try an ice hockey, you're never going to play premier sport.
No.
You've already passed that window.
The window's already closed.
Yep, you're behind
100%. 100%.
It's too difficult. There's these two sports in one. There's not only the nuances of the game itself, but literally these foreign objects on your feet, and you're going to learn how to play that. So deck and ball and street hockey actually create and extend the opportunity for a child to learn how to play the sport. Because if they get to 11 years old and for whatever reason, monetarily, or their parents get into whatever the story is, they decide to try it. Well, if they've been playing deck, street ball, whatever now since they're 5 years old, they got to learn.
They got it. They got to learn one thing to skate. That's it.
One.
Yeah.
And that's
got the fundamentals.
That's hard enough. Now, I don't know.
Correct.
Listen, I'm not saying it's every kid, but there's not that many Ron Crosbys out there who can just pick up anything. Of course, they're there. A kid can learn how to skate at 15 years old and play, but that's a rarity. That's a rarity. Yeah. The common average person needs to learn how to skate 5, 6, 7 years old. Otherwise, dust. Never going to play at the level of what we're talking about here. But this allows a real, true extension of that time so that they can get to whatever, And by the way, again, you can go back to deck and play for the rest of your life. For a whole host of reasons, economically, of course, first. So, at the end of the day, our primary goal and mission, as you know, Scott, is for inclusivity, 100%. That is our main goal: inclusivity and diversity into the programs themselves, and the introduction remains our major focus. Because at the end of the day, we're not looking to create the next Gretzky or Crosby. I mean, that's great, but that's not really our focus. All we care about is mentoring and developing the next greatest character-driven human beings on earth. That we want to be a part of that narrative. And hockey just happens to be a passion of ours. In fact, as you know, the EMP in EmPowerPlay is not just a great word. It's not just a great logo or trademark, rather. It literally stands for educate, motivate, and participate. That's what EMP stands for. And that's our goal: educating and motivating and ultimately empowering kids and adults alike through the participation of sports and arts. That's awesome. We just happen to love hockey, but golf, we're also involved in golf. And of course, arts is a big part of what we do too. So, I can give you a little bit of, just for your listeners out there who've been, sort of maybe coming in and out or doesn't even know what we're talking about here. But if you're not familiar with the EmPowerPlay, or if you're not familiar with EmPowerPlay or the EmPowerPlay Project, which are the two parts of EmPowerPlay, we are the project partners, facilitate the donation and implementation of state-of-the-art multi-use hockey rinks and integrated support system to ensure program sustainability through towns and cities and to inner cities and private-public partnerships across America. That's what we do. This initiative ultimately enables the introduction of not only the great sport that we're talking about here, but everything else to millions of kids and adults who, for whatever reason, never had the opportunity to try the sport before. So that's what we do. Pretty proud of it. Started off as just some, knucklehead idea of how to fix hockey. And lo and behold, we're putting hundreds of people into business and thousands of people eventually. And our goals are very lofty, but we're making a very good dent to that. That's 2,000 rinks here in the United States, another 500 in Canada, another 500 worldwide. So that's it. And then the connectivity of all those rinks through technology and data sharing, and we're building destinations, and we have an incubator program, which is a very big part of what we do. Because what about all those kids who can't play for whatever reason, physically? But we're losing all those kids for a multitude of reasons, and there's no reason we need to do that because there's 100 different jobs and skill sets needed for sports, including technology and safety and legal and agents and so on and so forth. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why the incubator programs make sense, including health and also health and wellness centers and youth combines. And it's again, not in reinventing the wheel at all, just bringing the best wheels together and making a lot of dreams come true.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, I got to tell you, I am so proud to say that my organization that I'm part of, Mohawk Valley Hockey Club, has partnered up with the EmPowerPlay Project to bring a deck hockey rink right here to the Mohawk Valley. And that's,
Or four.
Well, yeah, or however many it takes. That's it. And so that's we're so grateful and proud to be partnered up with you guys, because this is just going to be a dream come true when it's all done. And as far as I'm concerned, it's just going to add to the already strong hockey base that's in this area. And I think you're right. Once people see what it's all about, and I think that's got to be another hard part, is getting it in front of people to see it itself, because everybody kind of looks, well, wait, it's not ice. What do you do? Right. And they kind of, that's been kind of a problem that I've run into over the years with. It's like, well, no, you try to explain it to them. Oh, well, I guess I get it. But, and so, but you have to understand too, that it's hard without having the visual.
Oh,
so,
yeah. And by the way, once you get it up, it's not, I always say it's not the field of dreams. If you build it, they won't come. You still need to go out. You still need to go out and get them. This is why it's not just about the rinks. The rinks are awesome, as you know. There's nothing like them on the market. Nothing can even touch them. We don't sell the rinks. We don't. It's not the way it works. You can't buy an EmPowerPlay rink. It's got to be part of the ideology. You got to buy into the whole. But that's why the sustainable system with the USABHs of the world and the MVHCs and all of our partnerships. That's what makes it all work together. It's not just the rink. You got to be able to again create opportunity and sustainability through this nationwide resource and support system, and that's what is making it all grow, and that's what's making it all churn and work beautifully. And by the way, that's a very important reason, because you just mentioned that you can walk down the street, just like you walk down the street, you can ask 10 people out of 10 people right here in Los Angeles, who's Sidney Crosby, and 10 people out of 10 people will probably say Bing's son. Like, they don't know.
Yeah, right.
Are you kidding me? Is that your
answer? It's just the old people, though, that would give that answer. I would know it being son.
Right. Well, not only is it not being son, but that's part of the problem. It's like we're having, happy, part of the problem solving, rather. Of introducing the great sport and understand. When I grew up, and I'm sure most of you, I don't know about the Grecian Formula guy down below, but the youngest guy. But
he is.
You remember when I was growing up, the guys who were the stars of the game, whether they were with the Oars, Mohavliches, and Hulls, they were as big as Elvis. That's not bullshit. That's fact. They all had national sponsorship deals. They all had, car dealerships around the. I mean, I don't remember if it was Bobby Orr or Hull who owned it's Stan McKeed, I believe, who owned like a plethora of donut shops or something like that. It was, they were Elvises, and somewhere down the line, we just didn't build a platform for hockey. And so now, why is it that up until a few years ago, the biggest name in all of ice, was a speed skater, Apollo Ono.
Apollo Ono.
Right.
It was like that was the biggest name that we could. He was literally the only guy who ever had a national sponsorship. Subway. You've never. It's not possible. These guys are the best looking guys. They're super intelligent. 53% of them, or whatever the stat is, come out of the NCAA. Why? Where's our LeBron Crosby? And that is 100% to blame on the platform and the lack of one. And that is also what the EmPowerPlay Project is all about, is creating that, helping to create that platform where it all does make sense. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever that hockey isn't some sort of, like everybody should know at the back of their hand. They call it the fourth major, but it really isn't.
I mean, like you said, it's the cost, and that's the scary part. People hear hockey and they hear the cash register start to ring. That's it.
Yep.
I mean, sure, you can sign your kid up for hockey, but you have to buy the helmet. You got to buy the pads. You got to buy the skates. You got to buy the stick. You got to buy everything for that hockey player.
Yep.
You sign them up for Pop Warner football. You already have. They give you the helmet. They give you the shoulder pads. They give you all the pads other than the cleats. So you go out and buy cleats. Okay. Baseball, same thing. I mean, you got to go out and buy a bat and the cleats and a glove. But I mean, you're
basketball,
in hockey,
soccer,
you're
even cheaper.
Yeah, basketball, soccer, even cheaper. I mean, you
exactly.
can't.
Well, that's it, and that's what it's about. Now, fortunately, there are many teams that are devoted to giving away gear, and that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But that still doesn't even begin to crack at the surface.
No,
we need far more gear than even one team can afford to give away.
Right.
And it's still not just you can't just throw in this sport, unlike the other ones you just mentioned. You can't just throw gear at it. If you throw gear to a bunch of kids, guess what? Open the door and they can go have a football game tomorrow.
Exactly.
And baseball, because there's fields all over the place. You don't need, and that's the problem, right? It's Phil, you throw $500,000 of gear into the inner city, they got nowhere to play.
Right.
That's also where EmPowerPlay comes in.
Sure.
We just like the 40s and 50s when blacktops were going all over the place. That's what we're doing. Is finding land, finding open space, finding the plethora of parks and recs around the country are dilapidated because there's 30 tennis courts there not being used. We'll go in there. We'll repurpose that tennis court. What about the shopping centers across the country that for whether it was 07 to 08, 09 crash, or whether it was the last year and a half of pandemic? These are all of us. I live in Beverly Hills, man. I don't live too far from some mall that is not in use. So it's not just rural America that's being affected by it. So what about all these places across? You go to Shemetzevo, Michigan, and you can drive away down your own town and see 4 or 5 strip centers because of the anchor that went out, whether that was JCPenney or whatever. All of a sudden, cleaners can't exist anymore. The Joey's Pizza place can't exist anymore. And now you have this open space that's still costing the landlord, by the way, taxes up the yin yang, and it's an eyesore, and it's all this stuff. Well, guess what? There's another opportunity for a great facility and a great EmPowerPlay project where you can go into the community, help raise the funds, get a facility going up there, multi-sport facility, not just the introductory of our sport, but everything else that you can play inside of that 12,000 square feet. And then all of a sudden you create a destination. You got kids coming back and forth. In a year or so, now you've got so much traffic coming in, the parents can come back, the cleaners can open again because the people need to bring their cleaning stuff. The pizza place can go back in, and before you know it, you've created, God knows what you've done there. And that's also part of this platform. You gotta connect it all. It can't happen. It as cliche as it sounds, it really does take a village. And it can't just be the responsibility of the local team. It can't. They don't have the bandwidth, and quite frankly, they don't have the funds. It's impossible. It's got to be all of us, or it's not going to happen. Period. We've seen it. We've seen it. We're still struggling to say, what is deck and what is street and how does that relate to ice? And what are you talking about? How is that possible?
Right.
And I'm all for it. You could tell I'm really not into this at all. And
no, not at all. It would be huge too if at some point if there was like a professional deck hockey league, right? Almost on the level of like an NHL that you could put like on an ESPN2 or something like that to get exposure.
That is already happening.
That's
and,
awesome.
Yes, we talk to them all the time. We're very proud. There's a few leagues out there, including the NBHL, that have just come from seemingly nowhere. Deck and ball is the fastest growing sport right now, and it's leagues like that who have come a long way. As a matter of fact, as you know, we have several projects here in California now, and one we have is in Garden Grove, a twin rink destination with our partners Orion and Pacific Coast Hockey. And the NBHL regionals were just held at the rink. And the California team won, the Garden Grove team won, and now it's in September going to the Milet Cup, which is held in Jersey. So there is this growing opportunity. Again, it starts with access. Create the leagues. They're coming. You got the USABH, which is putting the governing body all together. You got the ideology, and you got the support system, which is EmPowerPlay on the background. Standardization of the rinks. This is all leading to the international game, which we're already in conversations with the ISBHF and a whole board, an executive board that they're building, because they have had quite a bit of success in Europe, and that's all leading to the Olympics. And we're not that far away from deck ball being part of the Olympics. So this is all happening. And interesting enough, that will probably be a summer Olympic sport and not a.
That would be best though, because then it wouldn't be competing with ice hockey for attention.
No,
at the Winter Olympics.
Right.
That'd be the best way to go.
It's not going to compete with hockey. It is its own sport in that manner. But it's just great to see everybody coming together. So to answer your question, it's not far enough. As a matter of fact, there already is a very small network run by some guy who actually was an ESPN guy. He films all of the NBHL games. And
there's an app like that on Roku.
They broadcast. It's on Stitch. They just broadcast. Really? I'll send you the link. They just broadcast the whole series. The championship. It was just last weekend.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I mean,
that
is cool.
That's really cool.
It's grassroots. It's not. You're not talking about slick NBC Olympic coverage.
No, but you know what? It's putting eyeballs on the sport, though.
Right.
Mike Tirico won't be calling the game. But
we can do that.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That wouldn't be bad. That would be a bad idea.
No, they do call the games. It's hysterical and great to watch, and it's just great to see the everything coming together, and couldn't be more proud of certainly of our partnership and partnerships like that that are making it all happen. It's just I never would have thought in a million years, or maybe I did, and now I'm just pretty glad to see it all happen.
Well, Kelly, it's just incredible. It really is, and hats off to you for all the work that you and everybody else at the EmPowerPlay Project does, and USBH. Just an incredible opportunity to grow the sport, and I know you guys are only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and this is just a wonderful thing you've done. And we want to thank you for coming on today too, and taking the time out to talk to us. I know you and I have been in contact quite a bit, but I mean, this is the story that I wanted everybody to hear, because I mean, this is the more I talk to you about our project, the more fascinating it is, and it's just a wonderful thing you guys do, really.
Absolutely. Yeah, the MVHE, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Those kind words but the MVHE is a big part of the family, and I can't wait to see that grow. And we're getting pretty close, and it moves pretty quickly. Yeah, as I've told you a million times, we never know how long these things are going to take. There's red tape and nuances for every municipality. Every town has got their own little flavor to it. And but at the end of the day, we know it's going to happen. It's not the if. It's never the if. It's just the when. The good thing is we know from green light to ribbon cutting is 10 to 12 weeks. So we just got to get to those green lights quicker, and we'll start seeing more and more projects. We've got 14 right now in the hopper as we speak.
Wow.
We've got probably another 20 behind that. We're in the middle of a $20 million raise right now to create a slush fund for the EmPowerPlay Project, which is the initiative side of things, because of all the towns and out there that don't have 2 shekels to rub together.
Sure.
And we don't want any of this to get slowed down literally because of funds. That should not be the reason that we can't put somebody into business, we can't create a little program, and we can't create some continuity out in the middle of nowhere where there is kids who want to play. And so that's one of the reasons that we're that's one of the things we're doing with the slush fund is creating a criteria where these lower income and underserved areas will be able to vie for specific grant funding. As you know, the EmPowerPlay Project already grants money into every single project. It is the way it works. It's 30 from us and 30 from the partner, and that's how we get started. But this way, we won't get bogged down when some town in the middle of Georgia. As a matter of fact, we have several projects in the South right now, including South Carolina and Georgia. And you're talking about dilapidated areas. We don't want to just sit around and wait.
Right.
If someone's going to grant us the land, we want to be damn ready with a couple $100,000 to go to make it all happen for somebody out there.
And that is absolutely incredible. What an asset for the entire sport of hockey, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's weird, like hearing it and thinking about it, like remembering as me growing up. I mean, I was lucky enough to play ice hockey, but all my friends weren't. So, I mean, like on weekends, we would go out to a parking lot. It was a church parking lot, and we'd play ball hockey. I mean, we'd make our net and run around and play ball hockey. And it just sounds like these just popping up in neighborhood after neighborhood after neighborhood. It's going to just bring those kids like, oh, let me try that. Let me just go out and try it.
Yep,
Exactly.
absolutely.
And that's all it is. That's all it takes. And
That
once you
is.
try it, you're in it. That's it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the most infectious thing there is.
Yeah.
Scott hasn't seen this yet, but I do this, when I do live, the last year, obviously I've done probably close to, I don't even know what it is, a couple of hundred Zoom calls a month. Before that, it was obviously live, and I, meeting with corporate leaders and municipality, and I do this little song and dance literally as part of the pitch, and I do the sort of the imitation of a kid playing baseball at 7 years old, and it's that thing that you just, a guy just, you can't see my foot, but I'm kicking dirt,
Right.
because,
Right.
That's kind of what you were doing, huh?
That's what a 7-year-old kid does. And then in soccer, with all its good graces, the fact is that the best athlete, that's who the kids are chasing.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the ball. He doesn't even know what he's doing, but everybody's chasing him. So this whole thing, they get a lot of touches. Bunch of malarkey.
No, they don't.
You're chasing the kid who is the best athlete there is. Well,
Right.
in deck hockey, and ball hockey and hockey, that's not the case.
No.
Everybody sucks. and immediately you have this stick in your hand, and you don't even have to be touching anything. And this kid's got this shit-eating grin on his face, and it's
100%. 100%.
So you've
100%.
seen Scott play goal then.
Yeah, well, don't listen to Dave. He's a sandbagger. He sandbagged me terrible a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to get him back for that.
No.
Oh, I will. Don't you worry about that.
You couldn't be 100% 100 correct on that. You can't be, because I mean, like I said, my son played baseball. I mean, he's a great hockey player. I mean, he was great. We're lucky enough to have him in hockey. But when he plays baseball, you have the kids literally kicking the dirt. I played soccer when I was a kid, and I literally would sit down and do nothing. Look at the sky. I'm like, wow, look at it. It's so nice out. But, you go
Is that what
out.
he does on the rink now?
And you run around, you're playing. Like, you can't stop not playing.
No,
You're going.
And once again, I mean, yes, you do want the kid to be involved and have the puck or the ball near, but they don't care.
But they don't care. No.
They're in there. They got the tools already in their hand, and they just got to go and dig for gold. That's what
it.
And that is a thing of beauty. Nothing compares to it. And by the way, I'm a huge football fan, huge basketball, baseball. I love sports. I was that kook in 1990 when ESPN, no, it was actually early 80s, when ESPN hit the airwaves, and 2:00 in the morning, instead of seeing the graphic come on, the end of broadcast graphic, instead of seeing that, I would turn like oh, Australian rules football.
Right. I watch
Wow, ping pong. Yes.
I was that guy, so I understand that. But there's still nothing like on the child side. On the child side, seeing them play street and ball and deck hockey, that's really what it's about. And you know, and then you get into the actual, you know, character building traits of hockey. And I do believe that hockey has the best intentions and has the best criteria to help us build, you know, good sports.
Absolutely.
Good sports.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
really what it comes down to.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, and like I said, this has just been fantastic, Kelly, and we can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on and talk with us. We're over an hour now already, and just, you know, if we had the time, we could probably go for another 3 hours. But but like I said, thanks a million for coming on. We really appreciate it. And of course, I'll be in contact with you very soon. So and I'll send you the link when the show comes out.
Great. I understand you have like 4 more podcasts, so it's like, you know.
Yep. So there's plenty more opportunity. Trust me. That's
yeah. Well, you know, as you know, I'm never miss a chance to talk about it and you know, I'm just one of a number of bullhorns that are out there, and we need more. We need more.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait till we start, you know, creating a membership where people can talk and the platform that I mentioned earlier. So. It's exciting times. Exciting times.
Absolutely, indeed. Well, so, like I said, thanks a million, my friend. I really appreciate it, and I'll be in touch soon.
Excellent. Thank you. Been great, guys.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate it.
Of course. Take care.
Have a good one.
Thanks, man.
Oh man, what an interesting. I mean, I'm telling you, I've been involved with them in the EmPowerPlay Project for almost a year now, trying to get this going, and it's finally starting to come to fruition. Exciting times. Man, it's really exciting times.
It literally reminds me of just like childhood all over again.
Yeah, it is.
Like it's awesome. Like just to think about rather than like, you know, if I had somewhere to go.
Yes. And that's
rather
the
than
key.
playing in a parking lot and getting yelled at, or, you know, when the ball goes, you know, hopefully it just stopped at the ditch, but sometimes it would go through the ditch and over across the road. So now we got to dodge traffic. And it's like,
right.
You know, now you have some place to go that's safe. You know what I mean? You're there. It's perfect. Like
right.
It would be awesome.
And, you know, and the thing is, you know, it's like every parent wants to be able to provide opportunities for their kids that they never had. And just kind of makes you feel good, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's probably still going to be a little scary. Like, oh, well, I don't want to put my kid in hockey because it's expensive. Well, you don't have to put your kid in hockey if he's playing duck hockey or ball hockey. You don't have to.
Right. Because
it's an activity outside. Get them out of the house.
Exactly. When we're running our organized program in the gyms in the winter, we're only charging $35 to sign up. Yeah. And we provide the helmet and the gloves, you know? So many opportunities to make it affordable for just, you know, for anybody to play, really.
Absolutely.
But and now I know that you had a trivia question, but I want to save yours from when we got a full panel. So because you know what's funny is I actually heard the answer to your trivia question like about 4 hours after you asked me that. So I'm
I
don't want to spoil it on him.
That's where I got the idea from.
You know,
and I was like, you know, it'd be a great one. I mean, maybe they'll bring up the goalie, but I mean, to do the team and what was it? The team, the goalie, and the year. Was it the year? Okay.
Yep. So we'll save that one from when we got a full panel.
That works.
And I'll just stay quiet.
I'll have to too.
So in the meantime, I do have another Breakaway trivia question for everybody. Well, for us too. And as always, Breakaway trivia is brought to you by friend of the show, Jimmy, the Iceman McNeil's children's book, The Red and White Zamboni Ice Machine. To order your copy, you can email Jimmy at mac_iceman@hotmail.com. So you guys ready? This week's Breakaway trivia question is, who scored the most points in the NHL for the decade of the 1990s? The answer when we come back.
Visit My Little Falls and stay connected with the latest news, information, and events in the city and the area. Our mission is to generate interest in the community and connect residents in a more meaningful way by facilitating deeper conversations about how these stories will shape the future of the Mohawk Valley. Join thousands of weekly visitors who stay up to date with feature stories, interviews, videos, our event calendar, and print publication, the Mohawk Valley Express. It's about timely local news, for the community, keeping citizens informed about important issues, telling about the people who live and work here, and giving locally owned businesses the opportunity to reach a very targeted audience of locals and tourists alike. It's a whole new form of media-rich content developed specifically for today's mobile lifestyle and listeners. You can download our iOS app in the iTunes Store, listen to our country music streaming radio station, or sign up for our weekly newsletter. Stop by today at mybuttafalls.com. You'll be glad you did.
I'm still impressed every time I see that commercial. Great job,
I
Dave.
knew you were going to say that.
That was
You
awesome.
know, he's getting predictable on that. But yeah, it was fun to put together. I like putting commercials.
I like the ending there with that lightning bolt, wherever that is supposed to be.
You know,
Supernova, whatever that is.
You back it up. You have the music.
Yeah.
And you have that ending. And
It's sort of like Star Wars.
I actually started with music first.
Yes.
And then I had that mark to hit. And then you put the imagery in.
See
But
that?
you time it to the beats. If you notice, boom, there's an image change.
You know,
Boom.
now you just got another nickname. You're now the metronome as well.
Better than charcuterie.
No, charcuterie? I don't know. We'll have to think of something else too.
No, I was good with Dave the Save.
Well, we'll save it for the next time you sandbag me.
Yeah.
So. So anyways, back to Breakaway trivia. I'll give you guys that question one more time. And it was, who scored the most points in the NHL for the decade of the 1990s? Dave the Save, the metronome, whatever you want to be called this week. Do you have a guess?
Where's Gump when I need him?
Right?
I don't really.
No clue. The 90s.
The 90s. Think of a hockey player. Name one. Just
Hull.
which one?
Bobby.
Which
Well, Bobby was retired, but
Bobby
we'll go with
was
All
Brent.
right. Well, that's why I'm thinking.
That's what I
I'm
was
trying to think.
why are you giving him a guess here? There's only one that played in the 90s.
Well,
And I guessed wrong.
I had to see what he was going to say. Because there was also Dennis Hall, too, if you recall.
No, I don't.
That's okay.
All right.
You'll go with Brett Hall. Jeremy, the professor. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm going to go with Yager.
And you're right. It was Jaromir Jagr. He had 958 points for the decade of the 1990s.
Your dad is going to be so pissed at that one.
Because
Yeah.
he would say that, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Well,
He
yeah.
probably would have.
Probably
No.
would have. He would have.
No, he would have said something like, "No, I know him." He would have gone like, I don't know."
Mario? He would have said
No,
maybe
Jan
Mario?
Eriksson. Yeah. No, it was Jaromir Jagr followed by Joe Sakic.
You see, I was sitting here, I'm thinking about it, and I go, who's still playing? I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with who had the most
Right.
points in the 90s, but I'm thinking who was dominant enough
Sure,
to do that
for the whole decade.
for the whole decade. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, well, the only one that really stood out was Yager.
Right.
I mean,
You know who surprisingly the third was Adam Oates.
that's not surprising to me.
You know,
No.
he had. It's funny because Gretzky was fourth, so Oates had 9 more goals and 9 more assists than Gretzky did for the decade.
In 99.
But he also played, and then it's crazy ironic, right? But he also played 80 more games, but still,
Yeah.
9 more goals, 9 more assists for 99.
99. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing how the hockey gods work.
Sometimes it's always fixed.
Yeah, right.
That sounds rigged to me.
Oh, boy. So anyways, we're going to get into segment 2, Hockey Hot Takes, and we'll start it off with a very happy birthday to Marcel Dion. The Hall of Famer turned 70 on August 3rd. In his 18-year career, he played for the Red Wings, the Kings, and the Rangers, and amassed a total of 1,771 points, which is good for 6th all-time. In my opinion, one of the most underrated players ever.
Oh, yeah. By
Never
far.
got the recognition he deserved.
By far.
And I mean, he was the only one, the barrier to Gretzky in the first year of the 80s anyway, the 79-80 season where he tied Gretzky for the points lead for the Art Ross, 137. And he was actually awarded the Art Ross, I believe, because he had more goals. So kind of a weird
That's weird. Yeah.
little wrinkle, but that's
Yeah.
okay because, it's not as though Wayne didn't get his share of those.
Yeah. He didn't.
So-
yeah.
So not getting that was, it wasn't the end of the world for Wayne. Let's put it
Right.
that way.
Yeah. I don't think he was missing that one too much.
No, not at all. Oh, boy. And also a happy posthumous birthday to Maurice Rocket Richard, who would have turned 100 years old on August 4th. I was going to mention that while Kelly was on when he was talking about Montreal and all that, and then I kind of forgot we got talking about something else. So I'm mentioning it now. And of course, I wanted to talk about the Richard Riot too when he was talking about the form, and we got talking about something else. So
thank God you didn't go segueing off into.
I know,
things.
right?
We'd still be going.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
You'd have to change the batteries in the cameras.
No kidding. Have to do that every time.
Oh boy. So, some of the big news of the week. It appears the season will start with a heavyweight battle right off the hop as the Rangers have picked up Ryan Reaves from the Vegas Golden Knights for a 2022 third-round pick. Reaves was obviously acquired with Tom Wilson in mind, and what a coincidence. The Caps and the Rangers play each other on open night. So, Jeremy, what are your thoughts on the Rangers picking up Ryan Reaves? Was the price a little too high?
Too high, probably. There.
I knew you were up to something. He got real quiet for a second.
I think the price is too high, but I mean the Rangers need that gritty guy. Sure, we had Tony D'Angelo, we had Brendan Lemieux, but those two guys, sure, they got in the gritty spots, but let's face it, they never really won much. We need that guy that just is that likes to just go out and bang, and he likes to go out and do his thing. And he's not out there to get goals. He even says that he's not the most prominent goal scorer because he's not. He's not a goal scorer whatsoever. He's out there for one presence, and the presence only is, oh boy, when he's on the ice, I got to watch my back.
Yeah,
and I like that. I like what they're thinking here. If they want a shot with who they still have, sure. Is it going to hurt losing Buchnevich? Yeah. But again, we picked up Barclay Gaudreau. So hand in hand, and we got grittier. Kreider now doesn't have to be that gritty up and down, let's get in your face type of guy anymore.
Right.
So
you also got Jared Tenorti too.
And we got Tenorti still, or just got Tenorti now. And I think with those two guys in the lineup in the division that we play in, it's going to help us more than it's going to hurt us. And any Ranger fan, I hope, would agree with that. And I hope other teams, any other fan of any other teams are looking at it going, well, they had the pieces together. They've kind of revamped those pieces to, if not better, and now they got stronger.
Well, I don't think you're going to see Ryan Reaves dress every night. I don't think that's going to happen. He was getting 8 to 9 minutes a night when he was in Vegas. So
I agree.
The interesting thing with him, and now, of course, you mentioned the Buchnevich trade, and I just want to talk about that quick. Honestly, I think that he was probably dealt away to pretty much guarantee Kravtsov a spot.
Yeah.
Because you got to put him in the top 6, right? You can't.
Yeah.
You can't put him on the 3rd or 4th line. It's not going to work.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I can see that. That makes sense.
And plus, Sammy Blais came back in that deal. So there's another sandpaper gritty guy, right?
Yeah.
So, which is honestly kind of surprising to me why they went out and got Reaves. I understand the desire for the Rangers and the fans to want to see somebody punch Tom Wilson in the face. Okay, I get that. I understand it. I totally get it. But I thought they had done a pretty good job of getting themselves grittier without him, to be perfectly honest with you. If you want to go out and give a 3rd-round pick away for him, I guess fine. That's, they've got the prospect pool is pretty loaded right now as it is. So, how many more picks do you need?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The thing is with Reaves, his play has tailed off tremendously over the past couple of years.
Absolutely.
But there was an interesting point that was said. Obviously, his best year in the past few was that magical run that Vegas had to the Stanley Cup Finals in their first year, which he was a part of. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened that the coach was Jared Gallant, who is now the coach of the Rangers. Coach. So maybe he can find a way to get the best out of him again.
Well, that's that's the thing. It could be new team, new city,
right?
Which it happens to. Look at the New York Rangers to the south. Every player that we sent to Tampa Bay, all of a sudden became the superstar. Not saying there was a superstar, but they played a lot better in Tampa Bay than they did in New York.
Well, that's because Tampa Bay didn't learn how to win a cup until they started getting a little grittier.
Well,
seriously, when they were loaded with
Rangers need that.
Exactly. When Tampa Bay was loaded with the finesse, 3-4 lines
St.
full of
Louis,
superstars.
Yeah.
When they got up against the Washington Capitals of the world, they couldn't do anything
beat
because they
up.
were getting pushed all over the ice.
Right.
Right. So
that's why I love this move. I love this move because I mean it's like you said. Okay, so fine, we may be young. I mean, granted, it's kind of sad to think that Zibanejad, Kreider, and I don't know. There's another player that's the most tenured player in the Rangers. But now, if we're so young and don't have the experience going into the playoffs, at least now we have bodies that will body the other teams to make them get tired and think about what they're going to do for game 2, 3, 4, and go on so on.
Well, and especially that division they play in because it's not really a finesse division.
No, not at all. Not
and the
bit.
thing is, too, is you got to remember just about everybody in that division made an effort to get better, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Philadelphia went out and made all kinds of moves.
Philly made a lot of nice moves,
to try not to replicate what happened last season.
I'll be
honest with you.
It kind of scares me that that you got Yandel coming back to Philly.
Yeah, I mean they went out they brought Cam Atkinson in, put
Cam
the puck in the net.
Atkinson,
I'm actually impressed with what New Jersey did.
New Jersey
made a strong effort to get themselves better.
Yeah,
I'm not saying they're going to be
and they're young, and they're young too. They're a young team.
They're in the Rangers' boat.
Yeah,
right. They're young. They got young prospects that are very talented coming through.
Yeah,
but I like what they did to try to be better this season.
Yeah,
they went out and spent the money and got Dougie Hamilton.
Right.
They brought in Ryan Reaves from Colorado. So I mean that's going to be a really rugged division, and that was a smart thing to do. To get a little grittier. So we'll see how it happens. I just think it's funny we're talking gritty Rangers when gritty is the Philly mascot, but that's okay. Blasphemy, you say blasphemy. So in other news items, John Tortorella has been hired by ESPN as an in-studio analyst. Joining Tortorella in the studio will be Mark Messier, Chris Chelios, Kevin Weeks, Rick DiPietro, and Barry Melrose. I love this hire. What do you think?
Be ready to laugh.
I know, right?
It's gonna be hilarious watching Torts. He's on the flagship of all sports media, so I don't know what they're gonna tell him, try to dumb it down, but it's gonna be pretty funny to watch.
You know what I want to see? I want to see when him, Messier, and Chelios have a difference of opinion.
Oof. Wow.
That's what I want to see.
And look at Barry Melrose. I mean, you really can't change Barry Melrose's mind.
No, not at all.
So it'll be. I can't wait for this. It's going to be interesting.
I think they got Weeksy and DiPietro, and they're just be the calming influence. Like, okay, guys, enough.
Well, they got the two goals. They'll put the two goalies at each end and say, "All right, boys, we're done saving this. Come on, let's go."
Yeah, right. No, I'm looking very forward to it, though. I think it's going to be a great fresh start.
It will. They needed what's the other one? TNT. That's also going to do the NHL games, and they got Gretzky.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I still don't really understand how they're going to compete with the ESPN of the world in something that ESPN has done before. It's great. It's great to have a hockey on TV. I get it.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It also works. You got to have the right commentators, and sure. I think. I mean, where would you much rather work, ESPN or TNT? Especially when ESPN has done hockey before.
Right.
So I don't know. I think ESPN is going to be a good year.
But I'll tell you though, TNT's got a big draw already from the NBA. They do a great job with that. And Charles Barkley was actually the one that convinced Gretzky to come work for TNT, though.
Basketball to hockey, you can't do it.
I know you can't compare them, but
we're not getting in this conversation.
But there's still that, the draw. That's all I'm saying. The draw.
Yeah, okay. Draw. Yeah, drawing is a better sport than actual basketball.
Oh boy. I'll tell you what, I'll get off this topic just so I'll save you the aggravation. Okay.
Save me the editing.
The Jack Eichel saga continues in Buffalo as his agents have now issued a statement basically expressing their disappointment that Eichel was not traded as of the deadline, and this delay is now allowing him to not get his neck surgery that he wants to get, so on and so forth. What a mess this has developed into. Jeremy, what should the Sabres do?
I don't know. Honestly, I would say let him play, but I mean, I don't even like the guy just for how much of a cancer he's starting to spread.
I think they should get Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think, you know what? I think
Colin
ESPN should hire him as a studio analyst.
How about Colin Kaepernick? Bring him back.
Yeah.
I mean,
No controversy there.
No.
I don't know. Eichels is now he's just digging his own grave. Wherever he whatever he wants to do now, he's just that guy that you cannot depend on. I mean, is he going to sit there and cry about, now he's crying about this, and is he going to cry about something else coming down the road if he goes to another team? Does another team even want to take that risk? I don't know. I wouldn't want to.
No.
And is he a team player? I mean, let's face it. Buffalo didn't have a great year. I get it, but they had players in place to possibly get everything going in the right direction.
Sure.
And then on top of that, they just had the number 1 overall pick. So they are piecing it together, but players are leaving.
Well, I mean, I think their hand was forced with the Sam Reinhart trade because of all this.
Yeah.
I think that was really a spin-off effect. With all the uncertainty swirling around Eichel now, Reinhart decided he wanted out.
Yeah.
And what I don't understand, what some of these agents think sometimes. Why would you go to the press and make a statement like that when everybody knows that he's not happy, right? But now Buffalo, Kevin Adams, who's the general manager there in Buffalo, now he's got to be turning around and saying, hey, look, guys, thanks for completely tanking your client's value, by the way. I can't trade him to just anybody because he's got a $10 million cap hit. I am not taking pennies on the dollar in return for him. He's still signed with us for 5 years. Mm-hmm. Granted, I know he's got a modified no trade clause that kicks in after next season. But you know what? At some point, and let's face it, Buffalo isn't going to be very good next year.
Nope.
Buffalo may not be very good the following year. So honestly, if I was Kevin Adams, I would turn around and say to him, look, okay, enough of this. I'm not going to trade you now because I can't get anywhere near what you are worth.
Right.
And I can't just go to anybody with you. Okay? So why don't we do this? If I was Kevin Adams, I'd say, go ahead. Have your neck surgery. Have whatever surgery you want done. Go ahead. Do it. But you better come back healthy. Because if you don't, or if you sit there and continue to play these shenanigans, you know what? I'm not expected to make the playoffs next year, so I'll sit you the whole season. I don't care.
Right.
Yeah. Fine. Do what you got to do. Because if I was him, there's no way I would take a third round pick and a mid-tier prospect just to get rid of him.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no way. Because, I mean, he's very talented. There's no doubt about it.
Right. But what's he causing in the locker room?
I don't think they're going to get the demands that they want. They want the equivalent of 4 first-round picks. They can forget about that.
No, that's
not
gone.
happening.
Yeah, that's gone.
That's
completely gone. Yeah.
And
I, like you said, I mean, I think, you just can't, with his agent speaking, it's like, it's the boy cries wolf. Right. So now he's barking at the Sabres. They're not doing anything. Well, now let's bark to the media where the media can blow everything out of proportion and make the Sabres look dumb.
Yep.
And that's what they're doing. I mean, probably the last ditch effort that Eichel has at this point to even try to get moved, but it just shot himself in the foot. He's not value. He's not going to be anything worth of value. No. You're not going to get that four first round picks and, your top tier level player just for one guy that has now created this, this shitstorm.
Yeah. Yeah. I
everywhere in the NHL. Nobody in their right mind would say, yeah, I'll take that. Take these guys and I'll take him. No.
And you know what? Even if he does have this surgery that he wants, there's still uncertainty around that.
Yeah.
It's not like this is a guaranteed fix all. Yeah. Well, the doctor said that 80% of the people come back from this normal, fine, no problems. Okay, but there's 20% that doesn't.
Right.
And you're expecting an NHL team to dole out all these assets and to take on a $10 million cap hit?
And I'm
for
sorry.
a 20% chance that he might not come back, as healthy as he should?
But I don't want to say that you target somebody after a surgery, but you do. Anybody that played competitive sports, you hear about an injury and it's been rehabbed and had surgically repaired. You go at it.
You got to think somebody's going to take a shot.
You go at it. You got to test it. You test it. Is it wrong? As long as it's a clean play, it's completely part of the game. That's the part of the game. So do you want to take that risk as an owner to get him? What if it didn't work? So now you're going to be, you got to pay him if he gets seriously injured all over again.
Right. And there are no contenders anymore. They have no more cap space to take him on. So he's going to go to another losing team.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? You know, I mean, seriously. I don't know.
You're just wasting time with him now at this point. I mean, like I said, he could have been traded for high value. Now he's been barking. His agent's barking. It's a mess.
And, you know, I'm just old school, I guess, in the fact that I believe, you know, like you signed that contract to play. They're paying you very good money. So do what you're paid to do.
Right.
I mean, and I understand that, you know, it's all because of this. He wants a surgery that the Sabres aren't exactly comfortable with. But like I said, at the end of the day, if I were the Sabres, I would say, you know what, go for it.
Exactly.
Look for it.
Yeah, no, look at what you caused. All right. Yeah. You know what? You caused all this, and we're not. All right.
And
fine,
then
we're going to grant you the surgery.
Yeah. And by the way, there's no way we can trade you this season now because you're going to miss half the season now.
Exactly.
So forget it.
Exactly.
You're a Sabre for at least another season.
Exactly.
Deal with it. You know?
I just say move him to Austin with the Bills.
Wow, now Dave's even creating controversy. Jeez. Oh boy.
Wait till that rumor spreads.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be viral pretty soon.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's the goal.
Oh boy.
Sabres are moving to Austin.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that was Dave the Save Warner that said that, everybody. His opinions don't necessarily reflect the opinions of the show. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oh boy. Well, that's gonna do it for Hockey Hot Takes. And as we always do, we're gonna end Hockey Hot Takes with Website of the Week. Website of the Week is brought to you by 315hockey.com. 315hockey.com is your news hub for all levels of hockey in Central New York. This week's website of the week is usaballhockey.com. That's the official website of the ball hockey or U.S. Ball Hockey Federation that Kelly was talking about earlier. So if you want to go on there and check that out, they got some pretty cool training videos. Pretty much everything you need to know about the sport is on there. So if you get a minute, check it out. Pretty neat. So anyways, we're going to take our last commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to take a ride on that Zamboni Time Machine. We'll see you in a minute.
Need to find that gift for someone special? Visit Little Falls Presents at the Stone Mill and Canal Place. Stop by today to find unique artist work, t-shirts, coffee cups, gift towels, greeting cards, tote bags, koozies, and original oil paintings and prints. It's all about the art of the gift. For more information, visit mylittlefalls.com/shop or call 315-508-5310 for details.
And we're back with the segment 3, the Zamboni Time Machine. The Zamboni Time Machine is brought to you by Zamboni.com, and the Zamboni name is used with permission. So this week, the Zamboni Time Machine takes us back to 1940, the year the legendary Eddie Shore bought the Springfield Indians hockey team of the American Hockey League. Last week, we talked about an incident involving Eddie as a player with the Boston Bruins that would make the toughest tough guys stand in awe. As you might imagine, someone who drove from Boston to Montreal through a blizzard with half of a windshield was a pretty tough owner to play for as well. Eddie was not only Springfield's owner, he was also its publicist, general manager, and coach for most of the 27 years that he owned the team. To put it simply, at best, he was a quirky guy to play for, and at worst, he was a nightmare. Shore once opened training camp by having all of his players tap dance in a hotel lobby. We can only imagine he wanted to see how agile his players were. As an owner, Shore believed in getting the absolute most from his money, which, of course, he was very frugal with anyways. If one of his players was not in the lineup in the game that night, that player was not going to have an easy night watching the game from the press box. Nope. That player would be down in the arena selling popcorn, blowing up balloons, or selling programs.
That's what Michael can do.
Yeah, there you go, right? Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So he owned the team through 67?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So you're right in that area, right?
So I'm right in that area. That's when I would have gone to the Indian games.
Maybe you bought balloons from a player.
I may have. I don't remember balloons, but
well, you know,
clowns. For some reason, clowns come up.
Oh, not surprising. Shore did not terrorize just his players. He once locked a referee out of his dressing room and refused to let him in because he felt the ref's performance in the game that night was not up to snuff. Opposing teams were not immune either. Shore once agreed to let the Cincinnati Stingers use his arena for a morning practice before playing the Indians that night. When they showed up at the agreed-upon time, the arena was still dark as the lights were out. Eddie Shore then showed up, and the Stingers coaching staff complained about having no lights for their practice. Shore simply replied, well, wait a half an hour till the sun rises and comes through the windows. Then you'll have plenty of light. His own players got the worst of his wrath, however, from taping their hands to their sticks to tying his goaltender to the crossbar so he would not drop down, which Shore hated, then having his teammates take shots on him, to ordering no contact between his players and their wives, if you know what I mean, if the player was in a slump, and a myriad of other bizarre methods of running a hockey team. You simply can't make Eddie Shore up. By 1966, the players had had enough of Eddie Shore. They threatened to strike and never to return unless Shore sold the team, which he wound up doing. To the end of his run was just as infamous as his time running it. But Eddie Shore is certainly one of the most unique characters in hockey history. And that, my friends, concludes this week's trip on the Zamboni Time Machine.
That's scary because I remember playing Pee Wee hockey, and our coach, which I will not give out his name, literally strapped our goalie to the goalposts, to the crossbar, for the same reason.
He learned from the great Eddie Shore.
And now it's clicking. I'm like, there you go. This guy just didn't make this up. He had to get this from somewhere. Yep. It has to be from him. Has to be.
You know, that's just a small sample of what Eddie Shore did as an owner. I mean, it was just reading all about it was incredible. I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't even imagine even showing up to the rink for this guy. It's like, you know what? I'm just quitting. That's it. It's over.
Okay, let me go sell balloons. I'll just do that. I'm safe.
But you know who did play for him for a long time was Don Cherry.
Really?
Well,
yes.
Look at him.
And that's
look at him.
Does it now click?
Yeah. look at him. Great. Oh, that's who. I wonder if he could come back. Have him come on ESPN.
Oh my God! Could you imagine him and Torts? Oh boy,
that'd be great.
Oh boy,
that would be great.
That'd be must see TV.
Oof. That would be. Do you want to talk about a rating getter? Holy.
Yeah,
cow.
you ain't kidding, right?
Reality show.
Oh, much more than that. Trust me. Well, that's all I got for tonight. This is just, like I said, a very fun, informative show. We want to thank Kelly from the EmPowerPlay Project for coming on. Absolutely. And I do want to let everybody know that we are in the process of rebuilding Marty'sIllegalStick.com. I'm going to be writing some articles for it to keep us all entertained as well. So we got that going for us. So I want to thank Kelly from the EmPowerPlay Project. I want to thank Dr. Keith Levatino, who had to leave us, but that's okay. We'll pay him part-time pay this week.
Yeah, 10 times his part-time pay.
I'm still waiting for my paycheck.
No, you're going to keep waiting, too.
You know how bad the mail's been lately?
I took lessons from Eddie Shore. I'm going to pay you in popcorn.
Yeah, popcorn. There you go.
You can find us on Marty'sIllegalStick.com. You can also find us on YouTube and all major podcast platforms under My Little Falls. And also you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at Marty's Illegal Stick Hockey Podcast. So for the Professor Jeremy Roberts, for Dave the Save Warner, I'm Scott Kimball. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.